Be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made and broadcast by Boston City TV, which is a part of the City of Boston Office of Cable Communications. And the first item is request authorization for the approval of the minutes of July 12th, 2018 meeting. A motion's in order?
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 2. Request authorization to extend a tentative designation and continued lease negotiations with Wharf 8 Pier 7 Partnership, LLC, to facilitate the redevelopment of Wharf 8 Pier 7 located within the Raymond L. Flynn Park. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wharf 8 Pier 7 Partnership was awarded tentative designation by EDIC, or BPDA, in July of 2013.
Turn it down. Sorry.
2 buildings were proposed to be built over the water sheet. The designation was last extended, was extended several times over the years, primarily waiting for regulatory relief from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts regarding building over flowed tidelands. The designation was last extended at the last board meeting through August 31st. At that time, we were requesting a 30-day extension to allow the developer to commence the Article 80 process and advance subtenant agreements. I'm pleased to report that since the last board meeting, Wharf 8 Pier 7 Partnership has submitted a formal letter of intent to commence the Article 80 process. The letter indicates that their intent is now to build a single building of 120,000 square feet rather than the initially proposed 2 buildings, which would also have constituted 120,000 square feet. The intent is to provide space for maritime research and development tenants. The developer's plan is to submit a project notification form under Article 80 large project review within 120 days. And we are requesting an additional 30-day extension to continue discussions and to track the developer's progress. And I expect to be back at the September board meeting with an update.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Are there any questions from the board?
Dennis, in this letter, why did they say that it's not permittable under Chapter 91?
I read the letter for the first time about 30 seconds ago, so I don't know exactly the details of that argument.
Okay, that concludes your presentation?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Are there any further questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Dennis. Item number 3, request authorization to advertise and issue a request for proposals for the for the redevelopment of 24 Dry Dock Avenue located within the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The building located at 24 Dry Dock Avenue is a vacant 30,000 square foot building with a full basement. It's currently leased to Northeast Ship Repair as part of the active Dry Dock 3 complex. Despite their good intentions, Northeast Ship Repair has not been able to develop the building for their sole use, which was the original intent. They elected to prioritize focusing their capital on their core business, keeping the dry dock active. Northeast Ship Repair has agreed to work jointly with BPDA to advertise the availability of the building to prospective developers. We're asking permission to advertise requests for letters of interest or requests of proposal for the redevelopment of the building. The development will be consistent with the Marine Park Master Plan and Chapter 91 license, and I look forward to returning by the end of the year with a recommendation for the board to consider.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Item number 4, request authorization to advertise and issue a request for proposals for information technology related to services for supporting and expanding a technology platform for Boston Saves, the City of Boston's Children's Savings Accounts Program. Peggy.
Good afternoon, Chairman Burke, Madam Secretary, and members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to speak before you this afternoon. My name is Peggy Hines-Watson, and I'm the Assistant Deputy Director for the Mayor's Office of Workforce Development. This memorandum requests that the Executive Director Secretary be authorized to advertise and issue a request for proposal for information technology-related service for supporting and expanding a technology platform for Boston Save, the City Children's Saving Account Program. A main priority of Mayor Martin J. Walsh's administration continued to be increasing access to post-secondary education and training for Boston students as a pathway to financial empowerment. The City of Boston is entering the third and final pilot year of Boston Saves, a children's saving account program introduced in 11 Boston Public School kindergarten K-2 pilot school in the 2016-2017 school year. The goal now is to expand the CSA program to all Boston Public School K-2 classroom in the 2019-2020 school year, setting aside $50 for every K-2 student, plus offering incentives to encourage families to save more throughout K through 12 to help create a pathway for Boston children to achieve their dreams beyond high school. In 2015, EDIC issued a similar RFP to select the current technology provider, who developed the initial CSA platform for the 3 pilot years. Through this platform, participating families have been able to link their own individual financial accounts to the seed investment set aside by the city and earn additional incentives by saving. The current contract expires in May 2019. The Office of Workforce Development now seeks approval to issue a RFP to procure the service for a technology provider to assist the city in expanding the CSA program to service all eligible children and families for the Boston Safe program at full scale. OWD staff requests that a RFP be used rather than an invitation for bid, as development of the platform require ongoing communication, community engagement, data analysis, and flexibility. The selected consultant must deliver a platform that is highly advantageous and enables the City of Boston to sustainably provide excellent customer service for Boston families while leveraging technology as a tool to help drive account usage. Using an RFP instead of an invitation for bid provide OWD staff greater flexibility in choosing a technology platform that can cater to these flexibility and customer service needs. In order to provide stronger customer service for this program, OWD will require 1, data coordination from a number of sources, 2, automated processes for data transfer between identifiable stakeholders above and executing service incentive according to rules defined by OWD and Boston Safe staff. 3, an ability to communicate with family the full content of their CSA account in real time. 4, an ability for family to communicate with the city any needs for help and program feedback. And 5, an ability to adapt to changes and innovation in the financial services and technology sector. The estimated contract amount of approximately $100,000 to $170,000 will be supported in part by the Boston Foundation and the EOS Foundation. The RFP will be scheduled for release in the fall of 2018. In order to further develop and implement Boston Save at scale, it is recommended that OWD be authorized to engage outside professional consultant service to develop an appropriate information technology platform. OWD staff therefore requests authorization from the Executive Director Secretary to advertise and issue a RFP for professional service for developing a technology platform for Boston Saves.
Okay, thank you, Peggy. Are there any questions from the board?
Do you by any chance know how many accounts have been set up through the pilot program?
My colleague Gosha here can answer those questions for me.
Can you go to the... How many of these children's savings accounts have been set up through the pilot program so far?
Good afternoon. So My name is Gosia Tomaszewska. I'm the program manager for Boston Saves. There are 1,000 kids that received the initial seed deposit, and then a smaller amount have engaged with the program and linked their account.
And at full scale, how many accounts would there be?
We're going to be adding 4,000 accounts every year. That's about 4,000. That's the number of K-2 students that come into Boston Public Schools every year.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, then a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Peggy. Item number 5, request authorization to enter into a 3-year contract with Box Inc. for content management software support and training in an amount not to exceed $250,000. Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In January 2018, BPDA staff began researching enterprise content management systems. The goal was to find a solution that would alleviate workflow, collaboration, and record-keeping challenges within the BPDA. After our initial review, 3 vendors were identified as potentially offering a solution that met our requirements and fit our budgetary restrictions. These 3 vendors completed a requirements matrix document, provided demos of their products to a cross-functional work group, and provided written financial quotes. Based on the overall evaluation of these solutions, the BPDA recommends Box as the appropriate enterprise content management system and seeks your approval authorization.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Are there any questions from the board?
Can you talk about how this is going to improve our internal operations?
Ooh, I was told that, yeah, I can. It's, I don't want to get too wonky, but currently.
Briefly.
Okay, so it'll improve in terms of saving us some costs. It'll improve things by, instead of having paper being passed around, like, for example, the gray sheet process, we're looking at doing things like digital signatures and being able to track and audit things through all these digital workflows rather than people saying, where's this and where's that? Also, removing documents being passed around via emails. It'll be a centralized location where people can share, see version control, see different iterations of documents, and therefore making it easier for us to also work with the outside public. So rather than passing documents to emails saying, hey, have you, could you take a look at this and hand it back? They'll receive a link, and they'll be authorized to come in through us because we provided that, and then we're all working on the same document at the same time. So no more, oh, I might have the wrong version. Can you give me the other one? So it should speed things up for us drastically and reduce a lot of our paper costs.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, a motion's in order.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Michael. Item number 6, personnel. Moran?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Madam Secretary. We have a few items for your consideration on the EDIC agenda. We have 5 appointments for your consideration. Fatima Saeed for Fundraising Administrator in OWD. Neil McBride for Master Electrician in Real Estate Operations. Saida Jean Charles for Voluntary Program Administrator for OWD. Stephen Costa for Senior Graphic Designer at MIS. Jason Rogurio for Community Engagement Manager under Planning. We also have 4 travels for your considerations. You can see that in the board memo. Nate Smith, Gosia, Kevin Liu, and Jeanette Carlvell. And we have 6 departures, 2 retirements. Anne Har-Yi Wong, Dee Dee Allen, John Swenson, Carrie Nee, Hannah Chavez, and Courtney Sharp.
Okay, thank you, Moran. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Moran. And I need a motion to adjourn the EDIC meeting.
I move we adjourn the EDIC meeting.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's adjourned. Meeting's adjourned. The open meeting law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is being recorded. Therefore, please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made and broadcast by Boston City TV, which is a part of the City of Boston Office of Cable Communications. And the first item on the agenda is the request authorization for the approval of the minutes of July 12, 2018. Motion's in order?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 2, request authorization to schedule a public hearing on Thursday, September 13, 2018, at 5:30 p.m., or at a date and time to be determined by the Director, to consider the 7th Amendment to the Master Plan for Plan Development Area Number 87, and the 2nd Amendment to the amended and restated development plan for the office building sports project within the Plan Development Area Number 87 for Boston Landing, located on Guest Street, Brighton. Motion's in order?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 3 from the Board of Appeal. Are there any changes, Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Madam Secretary. 45 appeals have been prepared by agency staff for transmittal to the board. Nothing has changed since the preliminary list that was sent to you.
Okay, so a motion's in order to accept.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Jeff. Item number 4, request authorization to execute a consultant services contract with NBBJ LP to assist in the preparation of the downtown planning study in an amount not to exceed $600,000. Lauren?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I was last here in February to request authorization to issue a request for proposals. Since then, we did issue that RFP and ran a process to review the 9 proposals that we received in response. It's quite a tough choice. A lot of them were very good. We received them from, in addition to MBBJ, CBT Architects, Gensler, HKS Architects, Perkins Eastman Architects, Ramble U.S. Corporation, Sasaki Associates, Schultz and Grassov and Banish, and it's UTIL as well. As I said, we think we've made the right choice with MBBJ. We have the project manager, Catherine Firth, is here this afternoon as well. The whole planning staff and rest of the staff in the city team that helped review the proposals is very enthused and excited to begin work. Together with their sub-consultants, they bring expertise in urban and land use planning, urban design, multimodal transportation, and engineering services for studying environmental impacts, market and financial feasibility, and public outreach. So we're really excited to start work.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
I would like to hear from the company a few words about what they're excited about this planning study.
Come up, Catherine. Again, Catherine Firth, MBBJ.
Hi. Well, we are delighted to have been selected, and we're very excited about working with the BPDA. Most of everyone on our team sort of lives and breathes the downtown. Our office is within the study area, as are the offices of many of our team members. We are hugely excited because we believe in this city. We believe that there's a lot of potential that's yet to be realized in the downtown area. And we think it's incredibly important for us to be able to work with you to provide a roadmap to attract and guide future investment in the downtown so that the opportunities can be maximized. I can get into the gory details if you want, but you may not want that right now.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, if there's no further questions, then a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Item number 5, request authorization to execute, ratify, and confirm a memorandum of agreement with the City of Boston Department of Public Works Fleet Maintenance Unit in an amount not to exceed $200,000. Dennis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. BPDA owns approximately 20 vehicles which are used by staff to visit BPDA-owned properties throughout the city and for other business purposes. We're requesting permission to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the City of Boston's Public Works Department Fleet Maintenance Unit to provide routine maintenance, repairs, inspections, and fuel for the BPDA vehicle fleet. There's an economy of scale by taking advantage of the cost efficiencies that the City of Boston enjoys due to the size of their fleet. The total cost will not exceed $200,000. It'll act, as I understand it, as similar to a line of credit where, as the services are provided, the money will be drawn down. Last year, it was less than $50,000, so we're very confident $200,000 will be more than enough.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Item number 6, Request authorization to extend a tentative designation of the lease negotiations with East Boston Community Development Corporation as redeveloper for the redevelopment and use of BRA-owned land located at 148 through 172 Condor Street in East Boston. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In October of 2016, the board awarded tentative designation status to the East Boston Community Development Corporation for the development of the 7-acre parcel at 146 Condor Street in East Boston. Their intent is to develop a maritime industrial center consistent with the goals of the RFP, port regulations, and City of Boston zoning. Tentative designation has been extended a few times in 2017 and in January and May of 2018. We are requesting an additional extension of the tentative designation through November of 2018 to allow East Boston CDC to continue their pre-development due diligence, although they have already made significant progress in finalizing an estimate of preliminary site costs. There will be significant expense on the front end incurred by East Boston CDC in getting the site ready just to go to market. The cost to fill the site, right now it looks like a meteor hit it. It's just a giant crater. And the steel seawall needs to be replaced before they could even think about developing it. During the extension, we intend to order a market appraisal of the property and begin negotiations in earnest for the terms and conditions of a long-term ground lease. Understandably, we need to know the parameters of the business deal with BPDA and East Boston CDC before they could start expending some funds and securing their financing. So we're asking for a 90-day extension to pursue that.
Okay. So we've already extended this designation twice before?
5 times before.
5 times. It's 7 acres of land?
It is.
Yeah. So what are the short-term or long-term plans around this? Do they have anything solid that's a short-term or long-term plan?
The long-term plan would be to do either speculative or build-to-suit industrial buildings for maritime industrial users.
Yeah.
I hope to come back in November with the business model intact to present as far as the long-term lease would go.
How confident are you that they'll be able to accomplish that?
I'm confident we'll know whether the numbers will work or not by then.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's a long time and it's a lot of land.
Indeed it is.
You know?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any further questions from the board?
Can you talk about the failed drainage structures, and is that due to us not investing in those, or is it due to flooding in that spot? Or the memo mentions failed drainage structures that are raising the cost of getting the property ready to develop.
I'm not an engineer, as you know, but I can't speak with a lot of detail about exactly what the condition was. But the water would pool and not drain, and that was one of the things that needs to be repaired. I'm sorry, I just don't know that level of detail.
Okay, but I hope when you come back in November, they have a plan and something, because 5 times extension, 7 acres of land is a lot. So you could pass that along, please, if you would.
I hear you loud and clear, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Are there any further questions? Hearing none, a motion's in order?
So moved.
Second, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Thank you, Dennis. Item number 7. Request authorization to award final designation to Millennium Partners as redeveloper of 115 Federal Street, also known as 115 Winthrop Square, located in Boston's financial district, and to adopt a confirmatory order of taking. Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Madam Secretary. On May 17, 2018, this board granted Article 80 approval for the 115 Winthrop Square project in the downtown neighborhood of Boston. The project site, which was formerly a City of Boston parking garage, is now envisioned to be a 55-story building containing up to 1.65 million square feet of gross floor area. The vote before you this afternoon relates specifically to the real estate transaction associated with the development. As you know, the City of Boston tasked the BPDA with the disposition of the project site. On November 1st, 2016, this board awarded tentative designation to Millennium Partners as the redeveloper of the project site. Since that time, the proponent has accomplished all of the terms set forth in the resolution associated with the tentative status, except for final sign-off from the Massachusetts Historical Commission, which is anticipated in the coming weeks. Additionally, the project will continue to participate in the design review process with BPDA staff. Pending all approvals, the proponent is hopeful to break ground this fall. Lastly, as was discussed during the May board meeting, the proponent remains committed to addressing concerns raised by abutters regarding foundation systems. The proponent's engineers have completed their second phase of geotechnical explorations and have not only shared these findings with the abutters, but have revised the project accordingly, most notably by reducing the depth of the garage from 5 levels down to 4 levels. The proponent has met with the individual abutters together with BPDA staff and continues to have a productive dialogue. The final building permit approval will be contingent upon a successful resolution of these discussions. At this time, BPDA staff is recommending the board award final designation to Millennium Partners as the redeveloper of the 115 Winthrop Square project and to authorize a confirmatory order of taking to ensure all land that was conveyed by the City of Boston to the BPDA can be then conveyed to the developer and ensures a clear title free of any defects and gaps between the parcels of land. There are members of the Millennium team here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Are there any questions from the board? No questions? A motion's in order?
So moved. Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Item number 8, 9, and 10, I'm going to read together and take one vote. Request authorization to issue a certificate of completion to SCD L2 Seaport Square LLC for the Seaport Square Block L2 project located at 121 Seaport Boulevard in the South Boston waterfront. Item number 9, request authorization to issue a certificate of completion to VLR Roxbury LLC for the 99 Rivermore Street project in West Roxbury. Item number 10, request authorization to issue a certificate of completion to 130 Northern Ave LLC for the Pier 4 Phase 2 project located at 200 Pier 4 Boulevard in the South Boston waterfront. A motion's in order?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 11, request authorization to execute an affordable housing rental housing agreement and restrictions in connection with the redevelopment of Building 58, the Rope Walk Building, and Building 60, the Tar Shed House, in the historic monument area of the Charlestown Navy Yard on a portion of parcel N-1, and to take all related actions. You're not Michael. Raul.
Good afternoon, Chairman Burke, Director Golden, Madam Secretary, members of the board. As you may recall, the Rope Walk Complex project in the Charlestown Navy Yard was initially approved by this board in June of 2014 and subsequently revised and approved in April of 2016. The proposal as most recently approved consists of the renovation and conversion of the historic Rope Walk Complex into a residential building with 97 residential units, of which 20% of those would be made as affordable income-restricted units. At the time of the last approval in 2016, the redeveloper was seeking financing through Mass Housing's 80/20 mortgage loan program, which would have made the income-restricted units affordable to households earning no more than 50% of the area median income. Mass Housing is no longer financing the project, so the project is no longer subject to the affordability component of that respective 80/20 mortgage program. However, the project does remain subject to the city's inclusionary development policy as well as the requirements set forth in the ground lease with the proponent. Since the redeveloper is no longer seeking financing through Mass Housing, is now seeking through a traditional lender, and in order to ensure the feasibility of the project, the redeveloper has requested that the area AMIs for the income-restricted units be revised so that of the 20 units, 13 are made affordable to households earning no more than 70% of the AMI, meeting city requirements, and that the remaining 7 units be made affordable to households earning no more than 100% of the AMI.
Okay, thank you, Raul. Are there any questions from the board?
Raul, why is Mass Housing no longer financing this project?
The short answer is that a new partner was brought on board to help get the project over the finish line, meaning get it to construction. They were able to secure financing, I believe, through East Boston Savings Bank, which provided more favorable terms and has, in essence, is getting the project off the ground. So.
Huh. Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, a motion's in order.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you, Raul.
Great, thank you.
Item number 12. Request authorization to adopt a demonstration project plan for MGL's Chapter 121B, Section 46F, as amended, for the acquisition and disposition, as described herein, of certain public air and subterranean rights located at 87 to 93 West Broadway, also known as the 79-89 West Broadway, and to petition the City of Boston Public Improvements Commission for the vertical discontinuance of the taking areas, to execute orders of taking for the acquisition of the taking areas, and to execute a deed in any and all necessary documents for the conveyance of said taking areas. Michael.
Good evening, Chairman Burke, Director Golden, Madam Secretary, members of the board. As mentioned, this board action is a request to adopt a demonstration project plan in connection with the 8793 West Broadway project in South Boston, and co-petition the Public Improvements Commission for the discontinuance of the taking area associated with the project. For some background, the project was approved by this board on October 12, 2017, and the Zoning Board on November 28, 2017. As approved, the project consists of an approximately 98,000 square foot residential building containing 65 units in ground floor retail and lobby space, as well as approximately 88 parking spaces. This is just a map showing the project site sitting at the corner of A Street and West Broadway. The site is currently a gas station. And then just a few renderings here. You can see the top here, the roof overhang, and the balconies are the areas that we're taking, as well as some subsurface areas. Here's another image from West Broadway of the project. And BPDA staff feels these upgrades really benefit the design of the building and recommend approval. I'd be happy to take any questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Are there any questions from the board?
There seemed to be a lot of opposition from nearby condo owners. Can you show us that building?
I apologize. What building?
There was a lot of opposition from next door condo owners. Do you know? Do you have that? Is that the wrong? It's the wrong. Oh, is that the wrong project? Okay, never mind. I'll ask that again later.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So, a
Sorry.
motion's in order?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Michael. Item number 13. Request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80, Section 80E6 of the Zoning Code in connection with the notice of project change for the removal of a floor, removal of a rear addition, removal of 1,300 square feet of deck space, relocation of 1,070 square feet of a roof deck to the front of the building, reduction of 18,000 square feet of commercial space, and a 5,900 square feet floor reduction located at 69 A Street, and to take all related actions. Gary.
Good afternoon, Chairman Burke, Director Golden, Madam Secretary, and members of the board. Before you is a notice of project change related to the original 69 A Street project in South Boston, which was approved by the BPDA board on January 4th, 2016. The originally approved project consisted of the demolition of the existing two-story building in the rear of the project site and the renovation, expansion, and mixed-use conversion of the existing three-story brick and beam building fronting A Street. This renovation and expansion was set to include a three-story addition above the existing building and a six-story addition in the rear, for a total gross square footage of 78,700 square feet. The primary changes proposed to the originally approved project in the MPC submitted June 27th, 2018 include removal of the six-story, resulting in a one-story reduction from the originally approved three-story addition, with a total corresponding height decrease from 66 feet 6 inches to 58 feet, as well as the removal of the originally approved rear addition to the existing 3-story building, which along with the height reduction resulted in a total decrease of 33,000 square feet, bringing the building total to approximately 45,700 square feet. The current proponent is CIEE, the Council on International Education Exchange, and will serve as the Boston office for the nonprofit organization, whose mission is, quote, to help gain the understanding, acquire knowledge, and develop skills for living in a globally interdependent and culturally diverse world by bringing the world together through the most meaningful exchange programs available. A public meeting was held at the Condon Community Center in South Boston and was supported by representatives from both the St. Vincent's and West Broadwood neighborhood associations. We did receive some letters of concern from abutters at the recently constructed Port 45 building on 45 West 3rd Street, but given the reduction in height and square footage from the previous approval, this proposal would seem to be appropriate within the context of the neighborhood. I will now turn the presentation over to the development team, who can go through the specifics of the revised proposal, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Madam Secretary, Director Golden, Attorney Joe Hanley, McDermott, Quilty, and Miller. With me on behalf of the development team is Nate Turner, who is the project architect with Margulies Peruzzi Architects. He'll take you through the final design here. Just in summary, I am here, we are here representing CIEE, who is the end user and is looking to open their Boston headquarters at this location. This is the former Standard Rivet Company industrial building in South Boston, and my client purchased the development rights as approved, and essentially what you have is an approved project that's been redesigned with a lower building height, without a rear addition, and with the same amount of parking.
What was it originally approved for?
I'm sorry?
What was it originally approved for?
The original approval was for a 3-story addition,
Yeah.
and to take the rear of the building with a rear extension that was also the similar height.
And
So we're foregoing the extension at the back and just renovating the existing building with a 2-story addition.
But is the use being changed, the use of the building?
Use is the same.
Use.
So this was, Gary, who talked a little bit about some of the comments that you received. When this was approved in 2016, there was overwhelming support from the residents, the abutters, and both neighborhood groups who remain in support because it was an office use. And as you know, South Boston has seen a lot of residential and not a lot of, in the neighborhood itself, some of that work elements. And so that principal use remains, and the intensity of it is simply reduced. And now we have an end user that will bring up towards 100 employees for local growth, partnering with the South Boston community and the leadership to a location that has been dormant for a long time, and a project that requires sort of less of an impact than what was approved. So that's sort of the summary as to where we are, and I want to thank Gary for all his good work, and John Greeley and Michael Canizzo for helping us finalize what we consider to be a really smart and interesting adaptive reuse of this building. And so I'll ask Nate to take you through that presentation.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Good afternoon, everyone. So here you're seeing the street view from A Street looking towards the building, and you'll see replacement windows. You'll see a roof terrace in the front of the building. We're maintaining the facade proportions along the front, but trying to tuck back the terrace. And you'll also see that on the right-hand side at street level, there is a kind of a more inviting entryway on the side of the building. So we're kind of pulling the visitors and building occupants in off the sidewalk. Here is a location within the context of South Boston. We are half a block away from West Broadway, and you'll see all the other BPDA projects kind of currently in the works around the neighborhood. Here are some existing street views from several different vantage points along Athens Street. I believe these get kind of outdated on a daily basis based on all the activity, but that's the existing context. And here's a comparison slide showing the statistics involved with the original submission compared to what we're proposing on the right-hand side, and you'll see that pretty much all of our numbers are less than the previous submission in terms of height, square footage, and I guess that's pretty much it.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you. That concludes your presentation.
Yeah, there's some backup imagery, but I think you're probably familiar with it at this point.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
So there seemed to be a lot of opposition from the nearby condo owners. Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah, it's interesting. Thank you. The comments that you received maybe are sort of predicated on maybe this is another bite at the apple on concern about height, as you'll read that, height and density of a project that's already been approved and in fact now is being reduced from what was approved in height. These are residents from 45 West 3rd, which was approved for development by this board with lots of interest from the abutters. Many of the folks on that IAG supported this development in 2016 because of the office use and the way that the development was presented at that time. So we certainly appreciate the new residents who have since bought in that condominium project after we were approved, and we're happy to work with them in any way. But what you have before you and what you have in your supportive comments for this hearing are letters of support from both the St. Vincent Neighborhood Association as well as the West Broadway Neighborhood Association, both for the lower end in this area. And that opposition is sort of limited to something that came before them. But having said that, we're always happy to work with our neighbors.
Okay, if there's no further questions, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 14, request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80, Section 80E-6 of the zoning code for the construction of 12 residential units, including 2 IDP units, with 10 off-street parking spaces located at 211 Condor Street, within the 187 through 191 and 211 Condor Street project, and to take all related actions. Raul.
Good afternoon, Chairman Burke, Madam Secretary, members of the board. The item before you this afternoon is the revised plan for the 211 Condor Street building located in the Eagle Hill section of East Boston. This building is part of a larger overall project known as the 187-191 and 211 Condor Street development that was originally approved by this board in June of 2017. The building located at 211 Condor Street was most recently revised by and approved by this board in January of 2018 as a 4-story residential building with 12 residential units, 11 off-street parking spaces. On March 6, 2018, 211 Condor Street LLC acquired 211 Condor Street from Boston Real Estate Capital, who was the original proponent, and on June 26, 2018, submitted a revised plan for the building to the BPDA, seeking to redesign the exterior facade of the building and reducing the amount of off-street parking by 1 space. All of the other aspects of the project, including the building height, unit count, building square footage, remain unchanged. It is also important to note that all of the previously approved community benefits, mitigation, and IDP commitments will remain unchanged. I'm joined by Mark Lacasse, counsel for the proponent, who will further the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Raul.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mark Lacasse. I represent Wonder Group, which is owned and operated by Jacqueline Nunez, the owner and developer of this project. This project probably feels a little familiar to you, and this is actually the 4th time that we've been before you on what started as a relatively simple project, but because of its location, here's that 7-acre parcel that you were considering earlier. 211, which we're here on today, is here. The other component part of this project is 187 Condor, right there at the corner of Putnam Street. And although neither building independently would have been subject to small project review, the BPDA requested that my client at the time voluntarily submit to small project review because of all of the other things that were happening on Condor Street, so they did. After this board's original approval in June of 2018, 211 Condor Street was the subject of the first notice of project change, because after we got through the initial approval phase at this board and the Zoning Board of Appeal, it was discovered that the zoning subdistrict line, which runs down Condor Street, was not coextensive with the Chapter 91 Tidelands line, which kind of scoots a little bit across the front of some of the buildings there on Condor Street. So we appeared before you in January of this year, seeking a reduction of 5 to 7 feet on a diagonal at the front of the building in order to comply with Chapter 91 and set aside that space as either open space or a marine water-dependent use. Because we're across the street from the Chelsea River, we're not able to do a water-dependent use, so the front of the building would be open space. So as a result of that chopping off of 5 to 7 feet on the front of the building, we lost 2 units and 1,600 square feet of space. Rather than just shoehorn the original design into the building as cut off, the new owner of the project, Wonder Group, decided to redesign both 187 Condor Street and 211 Condor Street. So we appeared before you earlier this year on a complete redesign of 187 Condor Street, which you approved. It's a substantially more modern design, different architectural firm, different concept, and different idea of taking in the views of the Chelsea River across the street. So similarly, today before you is solely a consideration of revised design for this project. These are existing conditions. This is the 211 Condor parcel. It was storage and parking for auto body shops, which are predominant along the balance of Condor Street. This was the design that was originally approved in concept for the building. And as a result of the changes to the front of the building and the redesign and the different approach, this is the proposed design that is being advanced for your approval today. Significantly, the architect has added outdoor balconies for each of the front units at the front of the building, so creating usable open space for all of the residents at the front of the building and activating the front of the building and making it more lively along Condor Street. As a result of the reduction of the front of the building on the diagonal, we've picked up some nice open space in the front where there'll be a planter here and a seating area. The lobby has been set back for the residential entrance, and right there is the entrance to the parking garage, which has space for 10 vehicles. Also, the top floor units, there are 4 units on the top floor, each of which will have a small roof deck for, again, more usable open space. So we've introduced more open space, more windows to pick up the views of the Chelsea River across the street, softer building materials in response to the comments we heard from the neighborhood when we redesigned 187 Condor Street. They wanted to see some more traditional materials, so we've added wood to the front of the building, in addition to the addition of glass. We had a community meeting sponsored by the BPDA. We met with the Eagle Hill Civic Association, and it's fair to say that it was unanimously well received. The architect has taken what was the original massing of the building, which was 3 bays across the front, and essentially replicated the same massing, the same height, same building envelope, but for the reduction at the front, but introducing a much more contemporary design. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you very
luck.
much.
Item number 15, request authorization to enter into an affordable housing agreement for the 14 on-site IDP units located at 125 Sumner Street. Raul?
Again, good afternoon, Chairman Burke, Madam Secretary, members of the board. As you may recall, the proposed 125 Sumner Street project in East Boston was originally approved by this board in July of 2017. The proposal consists of the redevelopment of the BHA-owned and operated Clippership Apartments complex. The project includes the demolition of the existing buildings occupying the site and the construction of 2 new buildings, which will contain 52 mixed-income residential units, ground floor commercial retail space, and associated off-street parking. The adjacent Clippership Wharf project, currently under construction and being developed by Lend-Lease, is meeting their IDP obligation through the creation of off-site IDP units in this project. Of the 52 units to be constructed, 22 will be income-restricted rental units, which will be monitored by the Boston Housing Authority, and 14 will be income-restricted condominium units subject to the city's inclusionary development policy. On March 7, 2018, the proponent submitted a letter to the BPDA seeking to revise the IDP units identified in the original board approval in July of 2017. After the proponent completed additional due diligence with Mass Housing, the financial partner for the proposed project, Mass Housing made it clear to them that each building must comply with Section 5I of Mass Housing's Enabling Act, requiring that at least 20% of the units within the development must be made affordable to households earning up to 80% of the area median income. While the overall project, which includes 2 buildings, as approved, met this statute, Mass Housing notified the proponent that each building would be financed separately, and the condominium building, known as Building 2, did not comply with Section 5I. To comply with this section, the proponent seeks to alter the unit mix and AMIs of the 14 home ownership units. The new proposed IDP units, on average, lower the AMI for the condominium units by about 5.7%, while increasing the average square footage by approximately 9%.
Okay, thank you, Raul. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order? So moved. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you, Raul.
Thank you.
Item number 16, request authorization to approve the Harvard Longwood Institutional Master Plan notification form for renewal of the Harvard Longwood Institutional Master Plan pursuant to Section 80D-5.2E, Section 80D-6, and Section 80D-8 of the Zoning Code, and to take all related actions. Gerald.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Very simple board action. The Harvard Longwood IMP is up for renewal. No changes are contemplated or proposed. Be for a period of 5 years. There's no presentation, but representatives from Harvard are here in case you have any questions about that.
Okay, thank you, Gerald. Are there any questions on the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order?
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you, Gerald.
Thank you.
Item number 17. Request authorization to issue a scoping determination waiving the requirement for further review pursuant to Article 80, large project review for the construction of 151 condominium units, including 24 IDP units, 201 off-street parking spaces located at 40 Mount Hood Road, and to take all related actions. Lance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Madam Secretary. I'd first like to orient you to the project's location. Cleveland Circle is in this direction, downtown, and Packard's Corner is in this direction. The site is here. It is currently the Boston Hotel, formerly the Best Western Hotel. Those of you who know it are familiar that it also is in proximity to the Green Line that runs along Commonwealth Avenue off of the project site location, off of Mount Hood Road. The project consists of approximately 165,310 gross square feet of combined 4 to 6 story residential building constructed on a podium and containing up to 151 condominium units and 204, just for the record, I think your paper had 201, but it's 204 parking spaces. You'll see that in the plan. The proposed project unit mix consists of 6 studios, 88 one-bedrooms, 41 two-bedrooms, and 16 three-bedrooms. Of the 16 three-bedrooms, 10 of them are townhouses. BPDA staff recommends that the board take the following actions to authorize the director to issue a scope and determination waiving further review, authorize the director to issue a certification of compliance, authorize the director to enter and execute a cooperation agreement, a Boston residence and construction employment plan, a community benefits agreement, and affordable housing IDP affordable housing agreement. and any other agreements needed for this project. Mike Vaughn would like to address the board, the developer's representative regarding the community process. And you'll also hear from James Gray, the project architect, who will give you a brief overview. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lance.
Thank you, Director, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you for considering our project tonight. We also want to thank Lance, who was great and really gave us, Lance and Jonathan and David worked hard and gave us great guidance throughout the project. So I'm going to walk you through our community outreach, and then our architect, James Gray, will speak to how our project evolved through the process and the comments. And we received a lot of comments at the onset of this project, specifically about parking and massing, and we subsequently worked to adjust those in reflection of the comments. So we went out last December before the holidays, before we had filed anything, and we met with the BAIA for a pre-filing meeting, at a full meeting. We had a very good session with them. We then initiated the IAG process in April with a community meeting and an IAG meeting. We went back to the BAIA in May of 18. We then subsequently, in the month of May, reached out to the Alston Brighton Soccer Association, the Aberdeen Architectural Conservation District Committee. Jim Long is a very active neighbor. We've had several meetings with him and good conversations that have been very constructive about the project. We went to the BCDC on May 29th, subcommittee on the 12th of June, back to the IAG on the 18th of June. We met with some of our neighbors, in particular the Kalil Building and Rabbi Leff and Mark Bressler, who had some concerns about parking for their congregation and the work that they do out of that building. We got our BCDC approval on the 10th of July. We met with CW Management and the trustees, Matthew Haney and David Ellerman from 35 Mount Hood, our closest neighbor, mid-July, the 17th. We met with Alan Cohen, who's at 8 Egerment and is an IAG member, sits next to us, very good meeting with him. Again, Steve Rosen on the 18th, back to the Rabbi on Rabbi Yaakov on the 30th, and we were able to reach a good agreement with him that we thought was a fair compromise as it relates to parking and how the building would operate. We had our last IAG meeting on the 1st of August. That went very, very well. Lance did a good job facilitating that meeting. Again, with Stephen Rosen afterwards, who's from 18 Mount Hood. And then the following evening, we went to the BAIA for the 3rd time and received a favorable vote. So that's led us to be here tonight. So thank you very much. It's my pleasure to introduce John Madison, or excuse me, James Gray.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mr. Director, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you very much. My name is James Gray from Stantec Architecture. I'm going to walk you quickly through a presentation. Lance showed you this slide and this slide, so you know where the site is. A little closer view in, you can see that the site is just a block or so back from Com Ave at the intersection or at the corner of Mount Hood Street and Egremont Street. Interesting site, lots of topography and existing hotel, as was mentioned. Our proposal is, as was said, as 150 for-sale housing units here with 24 IDP units, which is 16%. As you can see, we worked hard with both the BCDC and the Aberdeen Architectural Historic Commission to design a building that fit into the community. You can see some of the highlights that we're pointing out here. You can see down at the street level, a highly detailed brick building, some diversity in the colors that we picked up from neighborhood precedents. This is the corner of Mount Hood and Egremont. Walking you down Egremont Street, there's a series of townhouses, 3-bedroom townhouses that will have the ability for families to move into the project. Now we're turning around, going back down. This is a ground level plan at the Egremont. Those are the townhouses lining the parking garage. So you won't see the parking garage. And there's the next floor up. And that's it. Any questions, please?
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
Can you just go back to the slide that showed the different amenities around the building and just talk through them?
Sure. So I'll point out something about each slide. This is the Egremont side, and this is the entrance to the lower level of the parking structure. These units above are what I would call the liner units. So this is the entirety of what you can see from the street in terms of the garage. So that's an amenity to use the facade of the buildings to block the view of the garage so we don't see it from the neighborhood. As we go back, oops, sorry, I'm going the wrong direction, excuse me. These are stoops along Egremont to try to make it a nice neighborhood feel. If I were to show you a picture of the other side of the street, you would see stoops up into walk-up similar to this. So there you go, you see it on that side and you see the stoops. As we move back up, you can see the topography in this building. You can see we've stepped the massing down the hill. This amenity here, there's a doorway you can see into that glassy part that are between those two buildings. That is, the developer has said to the community that will allow the community to potentially use that space for community meetings from time to time, coordinated with the property manager. This is the entrance along Mount Hood, which would enter into the lobby and to other amenity spaces there. And then that's the overall. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, and a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you, congratulations. Item number 18, request authorization to extend a tentative designation of U Homes LLC, Urbanica, as redeveloper of 90 Antwerp Street in Brighton, and to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80, Section 80E-6 of the zoning code for the construction of 20 residential units, including 12 IDP units, with 20 parking spaces located at 90 Antwerp Street, and to enter into an affordable housing agreement and to take all related actions. Gerald.
Good afternoon. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I would never, of course, say that I love one of my children more than the other, and in the same vein, I would never confess to loving any BPDA board agenda item more than any of the others. But I do confess to feeling a special sense of excitement and pride about this particular one. It's not the largest project I've ever worked on. You'll see that in about an hour. But it's one that has been particularly meaningful to me. This is a piece of land in North Brighton that Harvard donated to be given to a user for a use selected by us through a public process. And after a lot of engagement with the neighborhood, it was clear that the priority was affordable ownership housing on the site with a component of publicly accessible open space. And we ran a competition, put out an RFP. Urbanica was selected. You gave them tentative designation back in December, I believe it was. We've worked with them very successfully to continue to refine and improve the project. And I'm pleased to ask you today for approval of the small project review application. They will need a little more time to finalize their zoning and line up their financing. We've worked with them to deepen the affordability, so all of the units, unlike in the initial proposal, are now at 80% or 100% of AMI. 5 of the 3-bedroom units are affordable, which is great. We've heard a lot in this neighborhood about the importance of family-friendly housing, affordability, and ownership housing. So we're hitting all of those here in a really great way, and it's a beautiful project. It'll have the publicly accessible open space, LEED Gold level. So I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. Look forward to seeing it receive all of its final approvals and begin construction. And to tell you more about it, I'd like to introduce Sean Pang of Urbanica, and obviously I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Gerald.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Sean Pang with Urbanica. I'm a project manager and designer there. So Urbanica is a vertically integrated development company based in Boston with a focus on public RFP process with city and towns within the Boston metropolitan area. The 90 Antwerp site is located at the North Brighton neighborhood, close to the Charles River, with lots of green spaces and mixed-use parcels along Western Avenue. The project site is adjacent to the Charlesview redevelopment complex and is close to public transit, freeways, and amenities. As Gerald has mentioned, the site used to be the Brookline Machine Shop, and it was a one-story warehouse building that encompasses the entire lot and was demolished by Harvard University as part of the land swap agreement. So this is what the site looks like today. The surrounding context is a mix of 3 to 4 story wood frame buildings towards the south, and towards the north is basically the Charlesville complex. So BPDA, led by Gerald, did an amazing job with this community vision, which basically is these 4 major points: affordable housing, neighborhood fabric, open spaces, and sustainability. So I think we reacted very positively to the call of action of the RFP. So the key facts of the project, we are proposing 20 units of for sale home ownership condominiums with a variety of units ranging from 1 to 3 bedrooms. 60% of the units will be affordable, which is 12 units with a spread of different unit types. And there will be 20 residents parking with 2 visitors parking. And the project will have family-oriented features, energy-efficient construction, and as well as LEED Gold certifiable features. So this is a aerial view of the project. It's basically comprises of 3 building clusters. The main building is a double loaded corridor elevator building with 14 units of different unit types, as well as 2 carriage houses along the Litchfield Street neighbors. So the parking is tucked under the building overhang, so it's hidden away from the public view. There's a generous buffer zone between the neighbors, as well as a publicly accessible pocket park at the corner of Holton and Antwerp Street. So basically the units will have large windows, easy to maintain flooring, fresh air through the ERV system, as well as a large kitchen for the family-sized units, as well as other sustainable features. The jewel of the project is basically the pocket park. It will be publicly accessible with a few design features like a play sculpture, seating areas, and a sun lawn. And we envision that as a passive use pocket park that will activate all these neighborly activities for the residents in the project, as well as the surrounding streets. The surrounding community can use it for, we envision the Saturday yoga or Tai Chi lessons, summer cookouts, group or senior dancing lessons, or just a simple picnic with family and friends. So the project is also will be pursuing LEED Gold certifiable status, as well as robust building envelope, efficient HVAC units, future PV panels, and other sustainable features. And that's the project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Congratulations. Item number 19. Request authorization to issue a determination waiving further review pursuant to Article 80, Section 80A-6.2 of the zoning code in connection with the notice of project change for the sports facility project within Planned Development Area Number 87, Boston Landing, for the additional uses added to the sports facility by the Fifth Amendment to the Master Plan for PDA Number 87, and the First Amendment to the amended and restated development plan for the sports facility project within PDA Number 87, and to execute a certification of compliance and to take all related actions. Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Director Golden, and Madam Secretary. Once again, we are here before you this afternoon regarding the Boston Landing project along Guest Street in Brighton. As you may recall, on May 17, 2018, this board approved the Fifth Amendment to the Master Plan for PDA number 87 and the First Amendment to the Sports Facility Project. The amendments requested the addition of a daycare center use and a cultural use to the already approved uses within the sports facility set project, which, as you know, was anticipated to be a one-of-a-kind building that will be New England's first 200-meter hydraulic track designed to be the fastest in the world. The facility will also have the ability to be converted to a full soccer and lacrosse field when the track isn't in use. It is anticipated the sports facility project will move forward with permitting in the coming months, and therefore the proponent submitted a notice of project change solely to acknowledge the amendments which have already been approved by this board. The NPC was submitted to the BPDA on July 13, 2018, and included a revised transportation study, which included the newly approved uses. BPDA staff hosted both an impact advisory group meeting and a public meeting to discuss the NPC, and the comment period subsequently ended on August 13, 2018. Keith Craig from the development team is here. Should you have any questions?
Okay, thank you, Casey. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order.
So moved.
Second, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 20, request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80, Section 80E-6 of the zoning code for the construction of 46 condominium units, including 6 IDP units, with 42 off-street parking spaces located at 30 Penniman Road, to recommend approval to the Board of Appeal for the necessary zoning relief with the proviso that the plans be submitted to the BPDA and to take all related actions. Gary.
Thank you, Chairman Burke, Director Golden, Madam Secretary, and members of the board. As you noted, the proposed project before you was filed to the BPDA on May 16th, 2018, and consists of a new 7-story, 46-unit residential condominium building with 42 mechanical parking spaces, totaling 47,640 gross square feet, directly across from Penniman Park in Alston. The new structure will replace a severely deteriorated 4-story building currently on site and bring with it significant public realm improvements and pedestrian connectivity to Penniman Park and the surrounding developments, transforming the area. This project is being proposed in a limited partnership with the Michaels organization, who was the proponent for the 40 Rug Road project, approved by the BPDA board in May 2018. During the Article 80 process for Rug Road, which consisted of 265 rental residential units abutting the 30 Penniman Road project site, the Alston community expressed a strong desire for more home ownership opportunities to help stabilize the neighborhood. To this, the current proponent, Jumbo Capital Management, has committed to placing owner occupancy restrictions on the deeds of at least 51% of the units in the Penniman Road project. And we'll also partner with the Michaels organization on construction management and comprehensive streetscape and public realm improvements that are consistent among the sites and compatible with future development opportunities and transportation planning in the immediate area. As you noted, 6 of the units will be income restricted in compliance with the City of Boston's inclusionary development policy, and the project will provide a mix of unit types with 4 3-bedroom units, 5 2-bedroom units, 34 one-bedroom units, and 3 studio units. I'll now just turn it over to the development team to go into the specifics of the project, and we'll be happy to answer any questions at the conclusion.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. Again, Attorney Joe Hanley, McDermott, Quilty Miller. Good afternoon, Chairman Burke, members of the board, Madam Secretary, Director Golden. We are excited to be here on behalf of Jumbo Capital, my client, who is the principal developer, as Gary indicated, who's approached by the Michaels Company. Just to give you a little background on Jumbo, my client was one of the first developers in Alston to introduce a scale of condominium residential home ownership in this immediate area. Right next to the proposed building is a 36-unit residential condominium building. Construction on that started in 2016. It was approved back in 2008 and then purchased by my client from a prior developer. And those units, all but I think 2, have been put under agreement, and we're at CO at the moment. So not only are we working with Michaels, but my client also has new residents who were literally next door. So the opportunity here is, what's new, obviously, is Boston Landing, and we are right at the foot of Boston Landing within a quarter mile of the new train station. The site is along the Pike and between Cambridge Street and the Mass Pike beneath Union Square. And as Gary indicated, this is a further introduction of home ownership, which we are excited to provide and to add to what we've already started, and most importantly, to be part of an overall plan with the Michaels Company. This site itself includes a derelict building, which is there now, which has been essentially condemned by order of ISD and has been unoccupied by that order for some time. And so my client is coming in as the new owner developer of that with Michaels to provide much needed home ownership in a neighborhood that, as you know, has a disparity of rental to home ownership. Final thing I'll say, we have worked very hard to be stewards of the park. There's a small, not a pocket park, but it's sort of a pocket park. It's got a community garden and some basketball courts and a small pocket park area directly across the street, which we adopted on the first development. And you'll see in the board memo, this project is allocating $1,000 per unit towards that park for maintenance and upkeep. And that is on top of a few of the other developments in the area, as well as with the Michaels Company. So we see this as a very much an opportunity to reconnect or connect this part of the neighborhood, which perhaps hasn't been readily available to folks, and then tie into the new train station in a responsible manner that supports the park. So David O'Sullivan is our architect, and I'll ask him to go through the presentation for you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, David O'Sullivan. This is basically a view to the right is part of the Rugg Road, 40 Rugg Road. Our building in the center, the 36-unit condominium, is to the left. Where do I have to zoom it? Should? Oh, okay. This is a site. The building that you see in the lower left is the one that's condemned, old industrial loft building. The park in the lower right corner. This is the building and kind of the block in progress. Pictures of the 4-story building that's in severe disrepair. Was a mixture of apartments and commercial. This is the overall block. Our building and new proposed building in purple. The Penniman Road Park is across the street from us. The U-shape around it is the Michaels 40 Rugg, and then next to it is the condominium building. We'll be coming in for an entrance drive right next to between the two condominium buildings. This is basically the old building. Our new building has a much smaller footprint. We're pulled back from the street. We're pulled back to the back to give more open space on the site than the existing building. This slide you saw before. This is a view from the other side with that drive in between the two on Penniman Road. Our entrance is on the far side of the building. On the courtyard between us and 40 Rugg development, we have two direct access loft-style units that are out that face the courtyard. The other 44 units in the building are all internal. Street facade with lobby, bike parking, access in the front. Basically the side facing Michaels with balconies that look towards the green space between the buildings. The back on the top floor has an amenity space and a small common roof deck up top on the top floor. This amenity space is planned because it has the best views all the way around. And it's a little bit taller than the buildings adjacent to it, so you have a nice view. And then the side that faces our existing 20 Penniman with the garage door on the side there. And that's basically what we are.
Okay, thank you. That concludes your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board? No questions. A motion's in order.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Item, let me just check. Item number 21. Request authorization to adopt the First Amendment to the report and decision on the 252 through 258 Huntington Avenue, Chapter 121A project, which involves approval of the updated financing and ownership structure of the project by QMG Huntington Limited Partnership, a Massachusetts limited partnership, and approval of related matters. Tim.
Good afternoon, Chairman Burke, members of the board, Director Golden, Madam Secretary. On December 14th, 2017, the BPDA board voted to adopt a report and decision on a Chapter 121A project at 252-258 Huntington Avenue. The project entailed demolition of 2 existing buildings and the construction of a 32-story mixed-use building with up to 426 rental units, restaurant space, and cultural space. The 121A project also facilitated the transfer of the historic Huntington Avenue Theater to the Huntington Theater Company, enabling the preservation of an important cultural resource in the city of Boston. QMG Huntington Limited Partnership, the entity designated to own, operate, and manage the Chapter 121A project, has applied for a First Amendment to the report and decision. The purpose of this amendment is to admit an affiliate of Toll Brothers Incorporated into the partnership. Toll Brothers is one of the largest home builders in the country with a growing multifamily construction business. The details of the new ownership structure of QMG Huntington Limited Partnership can be found in your board memo. John Madison of QMG Huntington and myself are available to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Item number 22. Request authorization to issue a determination pursuant to Section 80A-6 of the zoning code in connection with the second notice of project change for Phase B of the Parcel U development, which contained 30 home ownership units, including 4 IDP units, and to take all related actions. Michael.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Burke, Director Golden, Madam Secretary, and members of the board. This proposal is for the second notice of project change for the Parcel U development project in Jamaica Plain. The original project was approved by the BPDA board on December 18th, 2014, and consisted of a 3-phase development project totaling approximately 193,310 square feet, including approximately 124 new residential units, ground floor retail space, a new community space, 90 parking spaces, and the creation of 3 new public pocket parks. Phase A of the 2014 approved project, which is now nearly complete, includes 49,591 gross square feet, consisting of 24 residential units, 3 of which are affordable units, and 24 garage parking spaces. The first notice of project change was approved by the BPDA board on May 12th, 2016, and included the addition of 7,277 square feet and 2 additional units, one of which would be affordable, to Phase C of the 2014 approved project. With the second notice of project change, the proponent proposes to change the composition of units in Phase B from 6 3-bedroom duplexes into 6 1-bedroom flats above 6 2-bedroom flats. Under this proposed change, Phase B will consist of 30 units in total, including 6 1-bedroom units, 12 2-bedroom units, and 3 3-bedroom units. A chart outlining these changes in comparison to the 2014 approved project is available in the board memo. As proposed under this second MPC, Phase A and Phase B of Parcel U development project will be comprised of 54 home ownership units, of which 7 units will be created as IDP home ownership units. 3 of these units have been included in Phase A of the project, and 4 IDP units will be created in Phase B. I'll now hand it over to the development team to continue the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
Hold on, Tim Davis is going to say something.
Yes. I found a small error in the board memo on page 4. It refers to 2 3-bedroom units at 80% of MI. It should say 1. The chart is correct.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Pam from Urbanica. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to present Parcel U Phase B to the board. So, as my colleague has introduced, Urbanica is a design-oriented and vertically integrated real estate company. And Parcel U is a 2.6-acre land steps away from the Orange Line in Forest Hill Station. So the development was divided into 3 phases. Phase C was transferred to the community builders, and Urbanica is the developer for Phase A and Phase B. So back in 2008, BPDA conducted thorough community study and created Forest Hill master plan for parcels U, V, and W. The primary concept for parcel U was to create buildings of smaller footprint in the middle of the street to correspond to the existing fabric, and also create an anchor building at the corner. So Urbanica's plan adopted the essence of the community study. We proposed 3- and 4-story townhouses at Phase A and B, to match the neighborhood scale, and there's a larger building at Phase C to anchor the corner. So we also try to create a greener living environment by preserving existing trees and adding 2 pocket parks. At this time, Phase A has been completed and Phase C is under construction. So based on marketing lessons learned from Phase A, we are proposing to change the internal layout in 2 buildings of Phase B. The 3-bedroom duplex on the 3rd and 4th floors will be split into a 2-bedroom on the 3rd floor and a 1-bedroom on the 4th floor. So 6 such duplexes will be converted into 12 flat units, changing the total unit count from 24 to 30. But the other aspects of the project, such as the total square footage, the building height, and the total room counts will not be affected. In addition, we are increasing the number of IDP units from 3 to 4. So these are some diagrams showing how the internal layouts will be changed. This shows the 3rd floor, and this is the 4th floor. So the proposed change will create more housing units and an additional IDP unit for Boston residents. We are also adding 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units that are more affordable and underserved by the current market. So from here, I'll quickly go through some images of the completed Phase A townhouses. So we expect Phase B to have similar finishes and quality. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board? It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no questions, then a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Congratulations. Item number 23. Request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80, Section 80E-6 of the zoning code to increase the affordable units to 21 units located at 233 Hancock Street, and to enter into a community benefits contribution agreement and to take all related actions. Michael.
Good evening, Chairman Burke, Director Golden, Madam Secretary, and members of the board. On October 12, 2017, this board voted to approve the development project at 233 Hancock Street in Dorchester, consisting of the construction of a new 5-story mixed-use building totaling 29,465 square feet and containing 36 residential rental units, ground floor retail space, and 22 off-street parking spaces. The project also received zoning board approval on December 12, 2017. Since BPDA board approval last October, the proponent has worked diligently to procure funding in order to increase the overall affordability of the project. A project update letter was received by the BPDA on July 20th, 2018, relating that the proponent is now in a position to restrict 58% of the total units, of which 10 units will be restricted to households earning not more than 80% of AMI, and 11 units will be restricted to households earning not more than 100% of AMI. Pursuant to Section 3.2.A of the inclusionary development policy. Projects of which 40% or more of the total units are income restricted or otherwise preserved as affordable are exempt from the inclusionary development policy. As such, the 21 income restricted units under this proposal will be restricted through a mass housing workforce use restriction and regulatory agreement. There are no other changes to the original approved project proposed with this vote, and the proponent remains committed to the community benefits and mitigation included in the project's original approval. And I'll hand it over to Benji Moll with the development team to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Benji Moll. I'm a principal of Arcs Urban, a socially minded real estate development firm based out of Boston. I'll keep this short and sweet. We're excited to be here tonight to let you know that we're adding 16 more income restricted units to this project. We received vast approval. We received approval and vast support from the community to build a project at the intersection of Meeting House Hill, Jones Hill, and the Hancock Civic Association, right across from the future dot block site. Last year in October, we had over 20 meetings with the community, received letters of support from all of those neighborhood associations. And throughout that process, we really heard two things. The first is that they wanted something else besides these auto body shops, these blighted auto body shops. And the second is they wanted as much income restricted units as possible. So over the course of the last 18 months, we've worked through various funding sources to be able to restrict more units than under the 5 that would have been required under the IDP requirements. So the changes basically are increasing the number of units from 5 to 21 that are income restricted. 10 units will now be restricted at 80% of AMI, and 11 units at 100% of AMI. We're hopeful that this model of development, where we're able to pull together a few various sources of social impact funding and private capital, will lead to a new method and way of building mixed income housing around the city. So, without further ado, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board?
Well, I just have to say, as the BPDA representative on the Community Preservation Act Committee, congratulations. This is a really exciting project.
Thank you.
And it's really great to see our first funding round ever turn into affordable units. So
something that will be affordable and achievable for folks earning between $50,000 and $100,000.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, if there's no further questions, then a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Congratulations. Item number 24, request authorization to adopt the 4th report and decision amendment to the Fieldstone Apartments Chapter 121A project, which involves the refinancing of the project and approval of all related matters. Mallory.
Good afternoon, Chairman Burke, members of the board, Director Golden, and Madam Secretary. The Fieldstone Apartments Chapter 121A project consists of 84 rental units in 5 separate buildings on 3 sites, located on Blue Hill Avenue, Paxton Street, and Harvard Street in Dorchester. The unit composition, as amended by the Second Amendment, is made up of 46 one-bedroom and 38 two-bedroom units. The project was originally financed with mortgage insurance under the Department of Housing and Urban Development's Section 221D4 program. On July 25th, 2018, Fieldstone Apartments LP filed for the 4th Amendment to the application and report and decision with the authority for approval of the refinancing of the project. The project has received a loan commitment from Rockport Mortgage, Red Mortgage Capital, for a new permanent loan in the projected amount of $10 million for a term of 35 years. The loan will be used in part to pay off debt and for repairs in the project, among other things. The project is subject to the terms and conditions of a housing assistance payment contract with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which set to expire in June 2018. The owner is applying for a 20-year extension of the HAP contract until 2038 to be included as part of the financing. Fieldstone Apartments LP intends to continue the use of the project for affordable housing. The BRA will be identified as a party entitled to enforce the affordability restrictions in the HAP contract.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 25, request authorization to approve an executed certificate of project termination for the Garden Apartments Chapter 128 project with a termination date of December 27, 2014.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. The Gardner Apartments Chapter 121A project consists of 49 apartment units and 22 parking spaces located on Gardner and Roxbury Street in the Roxbury neighborhood within the Campus High urban renewal area. On December 5th, 1974, the BRA board voted to approve the 121A project. The project had a 40-year term and expired in December of 2014. It has since also transferred to the Jamaica Plain Neighborhood Development Corporation and will be used as part of a bigger overall project for affordable housing. It was recently discovered for finance purposes that the regulatory agreement on the original project was recorded and remains outstanding. So for purposes of financing, JPNDC has requested that we issue some sort of formal recognition that the regulatory agreement no longer applies. Therefore, we're seeking a certificate of project termination even though it has been expired 3 years.
Okay.
And it will be in recordable form.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 26, Charlestown. Request authorization to issue a certificate of completion of parcel R-97 located at 305 Main Street at 22B Franklin Street project in accordance with the amended and restated land disposition agreement. Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Secretary Polimas, and Director Golin. The project before you is 305 Main Street, which has been renamed 2-2B Franklin Street in the Charlestown Urban Renewal Zone. The proponents, Raymond A. Snow and Mary E. Snow, are seeking a certificate of completion. Under the current land disposition agreement that was approved by this body on April 13, 2017, executed on May 22, 2017, and recorded with the Suffolk County Register of Deeds on June 7, 2018, the approved project allowed for construction of a 3-unit condominium building with parking on parcel R-97, of which the address was changed from 305 Main Street to 2-2B Franklin Street. A request for a certificate of completion was submitted to the BPDA on June 14, 2018. A site visit from the BPDA Urban Design Department occurred on June 20, 2018, thus leading to a recommendation of issuance of a certificate of completion. Certificates of use and occupancy were issued on July 27, 2018. I just want to draw your attention quick to the screen. There are a couple of pictures of the completed project. And at this time, we'll take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, the motion's in order?
So moved.
Second. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you, Michael. Item number 27. Request authorization to issue a certificate of completion of parcel R-481B located at 51 through 55 Sullivan Street in accordance with the amended and restated land disposition agreement for Lot A, to issue a certificate of completion of parcel R-481B located at 51 through 55 Sullivan Street in accordance with the land disposition agreement for Lot B, and to issue a certificate of completion of parcel R-411B located at 51 through 55 Sullivan Street in accordance with the land disposition agreement for Lot C. Michael, explain that, will you?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Secretary Polimas, and Director Golden. The project before you is 51-55 Sullivan Street. It's 3 single-family homes in the Charlestown Urban Renewal Zone. The proponent, Joseph Wren, is seeking certificates of completion for each home. Under the current LDA that was approved by this body on June 9, 2016, executed on September 22, 2016, and recorded with the Register of Deeds on October 13, 2016, the project consisted of demolition of the existing single-family home, subdivision of parcel R-48-1B, and construction of the 3 single-family homes at 51, 53, and 55 Sullivan Street. A request for the certificates of completion was sent to the BPDA on June 14, 2018. A site visit from the BPDA Urban Design Department occurred on June 20, 2018, thus leading to a recommendation for issuance of the certificates of completion. Certificates of use and occupancy were issued by ISD on June 29, 2018 and July 23, 2018. So we'll have 3 separate certificates of completion, one for each single-family home. I'm going to draw your attention real quick to the slide for the completed projects. And at this time, we'll take any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Second. Thank you, Michael. We're going to hold off on items 28, 29, and 30. Those are all public hearings that will start at 5:30. And I can do item 31, contractual. Need a motion to pay the bills.
Will we pay our bills?
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Is anyone here for personnel? Oh, beautiful. Item number 32.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Madam Secretary, and Director Golden, Trent Woodard from Human Resources. We have one appointment for your consideration with the details in your board memo. Additionally, we have 3 travel items for your consideration. Again, the details are listed in the board memos for you to review. And finally, we have 5 transfers for your considerations. Again, the details listed in your board memo.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. And we're going to do a brief recess until 5:30, and we'll start the first public hearing. Thank you. Hearing before the Boston Redevelopment Authority, doing business as the Boston Planning and Development Agency, being held in conformance with Article 80 of the Boston Zoning Code to consider the Emerson College Institutional Master Plan Amendment. This hearing was duly advertised on August 1st, 2018 in the Boston Herald. In a Boston Redevelopment Authority hearing on a proposed petition by the authority, staff members will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the authority. Thereafter, others who wish to speak in favor of the proposed petition are afforded an opportunity to do so under the same rules of questioning. Following that, those who wish to speak in opposition may do so again under the same rules of questioning. Finally, the proponents are allowed for a period of brief rebuttal if they so desire. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. BPDA staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain. At that time, please conclude your remarks so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. Ms. Sullivan will now begin the presentation.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Before you tonight is the Emerson College IMP Amendment Renewal and 171 to 172 Tremont Street Renovation Project. The amendment before you tonight seeks to add an existing 4-story building located at 171 Tremont Street to the Emerson IMP area to allow for renovations of the 17,000 square foot space, which will accommodate uses such as a cultural center, health services center, and spiritual life center. The amendment has been discussed at 3 community meetings, and letters of support have been received during both a 30 and 60-day comment period. To provide an overview of this amendment and to further the project presentation, I'd like to introduce Peggy Ings from Emerson College. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It always gives me a pleasure to come here and see all of you. It also means another building for the city of Boston and for the college, so I'm happy to present this presentation and introduce you to the 172 project on Tremont Street. Here's a little background information on the college. In '92, the college relocated its campus from Boston's Back Bay to the Midtown Cultural District / Theater District. The move was really needed due to the fact that you can't retrofit some brownstones in the Back Bay much longer when you're a communications school. So the time had come for us to move, and this, as you well imagine and remember, wasn't the first location that the college thought they would be going to. You remember that move to Lawrence? We are always reminded of that, but thank God we didn't go. So since the move, we have really concentrated on that whole area on the corner of Boylston and Tremont Street and along Washington. We also have done many innovative programs outside of our performing arts and the most common programs that you know of. These are just factoids that founded in 1880. We have approximately 3,700 undergrads. That swings 200 either way from the fall enrollment. And we're increasing our grad students. They went down a bit. It was, when I first went there, there were 900 grad students. And now we're up to 682 students, which we're trying to really bring more on board. But as you know, this is an online society, and education is going through that whole process as we speak. This is a liberal arts school with a unique focus on communication and arts. It's a small size for classrooms, and the faculty ratio is 13:1, which we still are very proud of. Our students come from 50 states and 57 countries. And for a small population, those are very good numbers. Okay. This is our campus map. It doesn't show too well on the bigger screen, but this is the map that shows the 171, 172 Tremont Street building. There is a building up there that looks like it has a purple stripe on it on Boylston Street. That is a building that I want to mention to you that the college did purchase. We will not be utilizing it right now. We're going to keep it as is until at some point we need to use it. So it'll stay on the tax rolls, and it'll be operated as a residence, which it is, with commercial space on the first floor. Well, it keeps, okay. These are just a few of our schools. School of the Arts that offers a BA and BFA in some of the programs. Communication Sciences and Disorders, which is a very little known program, but which started the school in the beginning. It was an oratorical school, actually. Communication Studies, Journalism, Marketing Communications, Business of Creative Enterprises, some new programs, Comedic Arts, Performing Arts, Visual Arts, Writing, Literature, and Publishing. Those are some programs people aren't even aware of. We're here for an IMP amendment and an extension and renewal of our master plan, but I thought I'd just bring you up to speed about some of the approval dates and some of the outcomes. Paramount Center was approved in July of 2006, and as you know, it's a very heavily used center. Colonial Residence Hall, September of 2007, we received our approvals, and as you know, the Colonial Theater has just reopened, so that's something we can all celebrate as well. 2 Boylston Place Residence Hall, That was approved in 2014 and opened this past fall. The Little Building Residence Hall was approved in May 2015, and 12 Hemingway Street, March of 2017. These are all IMP amendments and approvals. And thanks for all your support in the past. Projects under construction, Little Building Residence Hall, as you probably have driven by there on some occasion recently, to see it come somewhat down. If you're looking face on from Tremont Street, we had to reconfigure the entire structural side of the Tremont Street building. However, if you've gone by recently, it's all coming back up. And some of the facade is going on in the Boylston Street front. The expected completion date is fall of 2019. Something that happened during our construction, which is unfortunate to everyone, was that the factory that makes the facade elements burnt down. So we are working diligently with the supplier, the provider of the materials, and we are actually catching up now. But it was certainly was not something anyone would want to hear in the middle of a construction project. But we've regrouped, and product is coming every day. The project under review today is 171 to 172 Tremont Street, and this is an interior renovation project. We expect the approval in September of 2018 after we present to the Zoning Commission. And this is a building that we purchased in November of 2017. It's a 17,000 square foot building. I'm sure you all may recall this building. You've seen it before. It's on the corner of Avery and Tremont Street. There was a previous developer who was before you a couple of years ago, and he received development rights for a 155-foot building. That's an as-of-right height, and we purchased it from that developer. What will be going in there is a cultural center. It's really a student center with their cultural center, health service center, spiritual life, counseling, and meeting space. This building is currently being demoed on the interior, but we will await our approval in September to complete the construction project in there. I think that's it for that building. This is a site plan here of where it's located. I know you can't, if you can read that, you're very good. But as you can see, it is on the corner of Avery and Tremont. These are the uses that I just mentioned that are going in there, and I look forward to your support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes your presentation?
Yes.
Okay. And I think we'll hold off on questions until after the public hearing part of
That'd be
this.
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this proposal? Please step up, state your name. If anyone that would like to speak in favor, please step right up.
Members of the board, Madam Secretary, Mino Perez, representing the Carpenters Union. I'd like to go on record in support of this proposal, and I will also take the opportunity to thank Emerson for the work opportunities that our members have joined, and those ones that will come in the future.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Rosemary Sansone, President of the Downtown Boston Business Improvement District, and I'm here to support this proposal. We have a very close working relationship with Emerson College. Everything that they have done in the downtown area and in the theater district has been nothing but top-notch. Two of our full-time staff workers are Emerson alumni, and we're very, very proud of the work that they have done in the past, and we look forward to the continued working relationship with them in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Hi, good evening. My name is Karen LaFrazier. I'm the president and CEO of St. Francis House, and we are a neighbor of Emerson for the past, well, since they've moved in. And they've just been a wonderful neighbor, both from an institutional perspective, but also the vitality that the students have brought and the way both the school itself, but also the students have been supportive of the work we do at St. Francis House. Their care and commitment to the neighborhood is exemplary, and their communications have been fabulous in terms of just building a strong sense of community. So I think the fact of bringing the student life to 171 Tremont Street is only a positive. So we're here to support them as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Christine Dunn, and I've been a resident of Avery Street for the past 17 years. In that time, I've seen a great transformation in our neighborhood, which was led by Emerson College, coming there in the first place. So every time they have proposed a new project, we have full faith in their ability to deliver what they say, and they're always excellent neighbors, to the point that they host the monthly meeting for the Midtown Park Plaza Neighborhood Association and have done so for the past 20 years. I'm very familiar with the building. It was my office for 20 years, and I wish them every success with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Taylor. I'm the president of Urban College of Boston, and I'm here to enthusiastically support this endeavor. We are also neighbors of Emerson College. We're around the corner with the China Trade Building, which we appreciate your support in us getting that particular resident for our students. And the Emerson's students are just a remarkably mature group of young men and women. They are focused on their cultural and artistic purposes there, but also I think, as was previously spoken, I think their engagement in this particular block, in this particular section of Tremont Street will be an asset to the entire neighborhood. As was spoken also, they've been a wonderful neighbor to us. To give you a couple of examples, the Emerson Library resources are available to all of our students, in addition to which they've hosted our commencement for the last 6 years at the Cutler Majestic Theater. Why? Because I believe that community engagement is at the core of Emerson's culture and identity. As a result, as you'll see, have you seen speakers before me, they're respected by the residents and institutions throughout the populated Midtown Cultural District for its leadership in improving the quality of life for all of its residents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Secretary Polimis, Gary Walker, Electricians Local 103. I'd like to speak in strong support also. It's a city like Boston is very fortunate to have the institutions that we have, and Emerson's no exception to that. They've always been very supportive of us, and we'd like to support them also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this proposal? Anyone that would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of this proposal? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Okay, hearing none, are there any questions from the board?
I have one question. Is your institutional master plan term being changed with this vote?
I'm sorry?
Is the term of your institutional master plan being changed with this vote?
No. The term that when we write the new master plan will be a 10-year master plan. It's a 3-year renewal and extension now being voted on.
We're voting on a 3-year renewal?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any further questions from the board? Hearing none, a motion's in order.
So moved.
Say real quick that Emerson's going to be engaging in a new 10-year planning process over the next couple of years. They're going to use this 3-year renewal time frame to do that.
Okay.
Second. Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion's in order.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Item number 29. This is a public hearing before the Boston Redevelopment Authority doing business as the Boston Planning and Development Agency, being held in conformance with Article 80 of the Boston Zoning Code to consider the development plan for Planned Development Area Number 119, Exchange South End, located at 450 Albany Street in the South End neighborhood of Boston, and to consider the South End project as a development impact project. This hearing was duly advertised on August 1st, 2018 in the Boston Herald, In a Boston Planning and Development Agency hearing on a proposed petition by the agency, staff members will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the agency. Thereafter, others who wish to speak in favor of the proposed petition are afforded an opportunity to do so again under the same rules of questioning. Following that, those who wish to speak in opposition may do so again under the same rules of questioning. Finally, the proponents are allowed a period for brief rebuttal if they so desire. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. BPDA staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain. At that time, please conclude your remarks so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. Mr. Alter will now begin the presentation.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon again, members of the board, Madam Secretary. This project has been more than a year in the making, at least in terms of the regulatory process, and so it's my pleasure to present to you the Exchange South End. This has been an opportunity for me to get to know and work in a different neighborhood of the city, one that I hadn't worked in before, and get to know some of the people who are active there. A lot of thanks to the residents and the IAG members who participated in this. Some of them are here this evening. It's gone remarkably smoothly for a project that is 1.6 million square feet and that will be transformative. A lot of issues were raised and I believe resolved very successfully to the point they could be at this point. There will be ongoing work on some of the community benefits, particularly the affordable cultural and commercial space. You'll hear a little bit more about that. Some of the transportation issues that remain to be negotiated, designed, resolved, refined, etc. But I think we've gotten to a very good place for what is, again, a transformative and exciting project. That stretch of Albany Street, as you know, is lined with some outdated industrial uses, and this will bring jobs, publicly accessible open space, retail activity, and a whole host of benefits to the city and to that neighborhood in particular, while really contributing to the transportation infrastructure and some of the other infrastructure that's necessary to support the project, but that will be a benefit for the neighborhood and the city as a whole. I'm available, as always, for any questions about the project or the process, but I'd like to introduce Bill Caravori of the Abbey Group. He'll tell you a little bit about the project and walk you through the details.
Okay, thank you, Gerald.
Chairman, members of the board, Secretary Polimis, Director Golden, and thank you to the staff of the BPDA in helping us get through this process to appear before you today. My name is Bill Caravori, Managing Partner of the Abbey Group, and on behalf of the Abbey Group, and also as a longtime resident of the South End myself, I'm very excited to present Exchange South End, an ambitious, transformative development for an underutilized fringe area of the neighborhood that will become a dynamic, thriving contributor to our neighborhood and our city. Among the many benefits, we'll be providing 12.5, do I use this? Okay. There we go. $12.5 million in housing funding for our neighborhoods will create up to approximately 7,000 permanent jobs that we hope and believe will draw workers from one of the most desirable and diverse neighborhoods in the city, the South End, and will provide truly significant impact on the cultural and community life of the city by providing 30,000 square feet of space for this purpose. This project has been in front of the community for a long time, well before we began the formal Article 80 process, and at the urging of trusted community leaders, we embarked on an outreach effort to introduce and improve our program for the project, to incorporate community goals into our plan, and to address community concerns with effective solutions. This approach has led to over 50 community and public meetings, and we're happy to report has created a better project for everybody. Exchange South End will extend the vibrancy of the South End across Albany Street to this fringe area of the neighborhood and bring it back into the fold by transforming the existing warehouse building into a mixed-use, state-of-the-art urban campus focusing on the upper floors on life sciences, tech, and lab uses across 4 buildings of varying sizes and heights that surround an open park for the public of almost 1.5 acres in size that is the centerpiece of a ground floor indoor and outdoor public realm of retail shops and restaurants, 30,000 square feet of culture and community uses meant for the enjoyment and the benefit of the neighborhood, the city, and our workers. Our project also makes significant contributions to the transportation goals established in the Harrison-Albany Corridor Transportation Study, including improving connections to the highway, expanding the South Bay Harbor Trail, rebuilding sections of Albany Street to improve bicycle and public transportation, and modernizing the traffic signals along Albany Street. And now I'd like to introduce Larry Grossman from Stantec to talk about the specifics of the design.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Larry Grossman, a principal architect from Stantec, and we, as you can see, there's been great dialogue with the community, with the city, and it's a lot of meetings to go to. But I think in this case, it improved the project in many ways, and it was a very well run process. The site, as you can see in the yellow area, is bounded by Albany Street on one side, the Southeast Expressway on the other, and then the medical area to the west. It's a 5.6 acre parcel, and this is how it looks today and has looked for many, many years as the Flower Exchange, a one-story industrial building. Interesting, the Flower Exchange was filled with plants. There wasn't a single tree on the site. We're going to change that in a big way. The site was almost entirely pervious, with a building in the middle of the site and parking all around. So this is our vision for the project, a compilation of 4 buildings of varying heights that essentially create the edges for this public park, what we call Albany Green, as a public amenity, and essentially the front door onto Albany Street and the front door to 4 of these office buildings that will house retail at the ground floor, public uses, and office lab on the upper floors. This is the plan, the public realm, and we refer to the buildings as A, B, C, and D, with A being in the top left, to the right B, and then clockwise around C and D. So buildings A and B front directly on Albany Street, in addition to Albany Green. All those little red triangles are showing places that you can enter the buildings. The building's very, very pervious. We have lobbies that face out onto Albany Green, in addition to some side lobbies to allow you to pass through the site. And we've even looked at the adjacent parcel, the Jacobson Flower Mart parcel, and have one of our lobby in Building B connect to that, so that when that gets developed, when and if that gets developed, there's the potential to connect that into Albany Green. The roadway network is essentially bounded on the 2 side streets. We extended East Canton down to Biosquare Drive, which is a private road, and then between our parcel and Jacobson, there's another access point. And then we've extended on access with East Dedham, a roadway that runs through Albany Green and becomes a one-way in, providing access to the front doors of the site. The other thing that was interesting about the site is that there's a large canal that had run, that, as you know, this was South Bay. This was a bay, and Albany Street was the edge. And I'll show you in a second some of the things that we think we're going to uncover when we begin to do construction. But the water that was passing through basically was put into a culvert, and the road that's running east to west, which we call our east-west connector, we can't build on, so that became our service road, and all of our truck docks and access to our underground parking are located off of that location. And lastly, zoning calls for a 20% open space. We've been able to achieve 39%. This is just a diagram of what's happening below grade with the 3-story. These are 3-level underground parking garages, one for each of the buildings, A, B, C, and D, around 1,150 spaces. This is a massing diagram that shows what we came up with, and one of the goals was we didn't want it to look like a monolithic campus. We looked at breaking the buildings down in height and in detail, but the first thing we did is we looked at the sun and where the sun would fall, because the park, Albany Green, was a central component of the project. And what we found is that we had to lower some of the buildings to allow the sun to get in and penetrate to give us enough sunlight onto the green. So it was a double benefit because we wanted to lower the buildings along Albany Street to make that connection, because zoning stipulated 120 to 200 feet along Albany Street, but we've dropped them down to 92 feet for one building, 105, and then stepping up. And part of the process that we got feedback from the city and from the community is that they endorsed putting more height on the highway. And so we went back and got a zoning change, and in fact increased the allowable height. And so we're showing the tallest building essentially mitigates between the south end and the expressway towards the back of the site. And that one didn't have any impact on the sun hitting the park, which worked out quite well. Here's an elevated view. Albany Street is in the foreground. You're seeing building A on the right, B, and the kit of parts was that the buildings all varied in their geometry and their detailing, but there was a commonality of materiality. And so we wanted to relate to the south end, so we didn't want to use traditional brick, so we used terracotta. So it has similar tonality, but used in a more contemporary way. And that's what you're seeing as the orange colored material. And then as the buildings step up, they begin to step back. We have rooftop access and terraces. Again, pulling back, you're seeing A on the right, B to the left, the tallest building C. C and D, the two back buildings, are connected with a podium with one central, is there a pointer on this? Yeah. One central entry here that essentially ties together buildings C and D, a big grand lobby entrance. So when you enter here, you go to the left or to the right to the two individual cores, and that's on axis with this pedestrian way, pedestrian promenade that runs into the project. Down on to Albany Street, looking up, you're seeing building A. In the foreground, you're seeing a secondary entry underneath a bay. The building steps up 4 floors to hold the street edge to a scale similar to the other buildings on Albany Street, and then steps back to decrease the impact onto the street. And then building B beyond does the same thing, where the buildings right along Albany Street are of different scales, massing. And again, this was feedback that we got through the process that I think was very helpful in improving the overall design of the project. And then stepping away from the project, from the expressway, looking southwest, you can see the overall general heights in the neighborhood, what we've done along Albany Street, and then we begin to step back with the tallest building, building C, along the expressway as essentially a gateway into this neighborhood. And we've carried through some of the materials, the terracotta materials that we introduced along Albany Street, and then brought them in as essentially a framework on that side of the building. So it has as much visual interest on the highway side as it does along Albany Street. Then down at eye level into Albany Green, you're looking at the entry into building A. Again, all the lobby entrances focus on the green with retail spaces at the base of the building, and you're seeing the lobby entrance on axis of building C and D beyond. And then looking to the left, this is building B, lobby entrance. One of the things that we think we're going to find, because we know that when the Flower Exchange building was built, is they hit a lot of the seawall, which were large granite blocks. They left as much in the ground as they could. It's expensive to take out. We know we're going to find a lot more. So we're hoping to unearth some of this treasure and use that as a seat wall for what we're calling the sunny lawn, which is the area closest to Albany Street, which gets the most sun, but as a place to congregate, as a place to sit, as a place that people can just come and stop. We think that there'll be a coffee shop at one of these Albany Street locations. This is looking down Albany Street, very gracious sidewalk, because we have a setback that gives us about a 15 to 18 foot sidewalk. We're envisioning retail uses with plenty of space to have outdoor dining and replanting all those street trees. So here's a focus view of Albany Green. Bill gave you the details, but the proponent is committed to programming this space for a whole range of uses, seasonal uses and festivals. And it has essentially broken down into what we call the sunny lawn towards Albany Street, a more paved area for activities, and then what we're referring to as the quiet garden, little more shady, a little bit more intimate, and a little further away from Albany Street. And then these are views. Again, you're seeing this sunny lawn and the granite edge. the entrance to Building B and some of the covered area. This is an image of another project that the landscape architect had done as a precedent to what we think we can do with this granite block. We don't know exactly what we're going to find, so this is in some ways going to be an art project as we uncover this, but that's the goals that we have. This is looking across, standing at the lobby of Building A, looking to B. The center of the project has more hardscape than softscape, and we're hoping that this is what we can use to take advantage for different programming events. And in addition, we have a splash fountain in this plaza too. And then further back on the site now, in what we're calling a quiet garden, loose seating in and around, bermed planting, a whole range of planting types, really to create a canopy of trees to mitigate the overall height of the building. And then Bill's going to talk a little about phasing.
Well, so just about phasing, just to say that we're very eager to move forward with this work. And we believe that we can build this project speculatively, meaning to say that we can get started and finished in 2 minutes. But we can get started with phase 1, which is the 2 smaller buildings up against Albany Street and the park, so that the public realm that we're speaking of can be established and this connection to the neighborhood can be established, with phase 2 coming subsequently, which means that we could be beginning with this work as early as late spring 2019. And I believe that concludes our presentation on this.
Okay,
Thank you
great.
very much.
All right, thank you. Before we have any questions, we're going to have the public comment period. So I'll give anyone an opportunity. If you'd like to speak in favor of this proposal, please step right up, state your name. If you'd like to speak in favor of this proposal.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Director Golden, Madam Secretary Minor Perez, representing the Carpenters Union. We'd like to go on record in support of this project on behalf of the hundreds of members that we have that live and work throughout the city of Boston. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Director Golden, Madam Secretary. Once again, Gary Walker, electricians, local 103, to speak in strong support also. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Director Golden. My name is Tom Ward. I'm a resident of the city of Boston, executive board member of Local 7 of the Ironworkers Union. Look forward to working on this project. We rise in favor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Caroline Piscato. I am a resident of South End, and I live directly across the street from this project. I also run a nonprofit, South End Soccer, with its free youth soccer program that's been in the neighborhood for 10 years, and I'm on the IAG. So I just want to compliment both the city and everyone involved with the development. They are really trying very hard to hear from all of us and take that feedback. There's a lot of concerns about transportation, and they've been putting a lot of work in that, I know, with us and with others in the state and in other places to sort of navigate some of that. And I also am very impressed with how they really want to utilize this as an opportunity for workforce development and for other opportunities for those in the neighborhood to have opportunities both for work and access to space that not every project, I think, would do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming tonight.
Hi, I'm Sue Sullivan. I'm the Executive Director of the Newmarket Business Association, and it's been my job and my pleasure for the last 25 years or so to protect Boston's industrial sector down in that area, particularly the good-paying jobs down there and the companies that are the backbone of the services of this thriving city. That being said, we believe that the uses that are going to be on this site are compatible with those goals. They are certainly in keeping with providing good paying jobs for local neighborhoods and also for providing services. Obviously, technology and research and life sciences are the backbone of our hospitals and health services. That being said, it has been a very robust year-long process. I think everything has been vetted. There have been a lot of concerns regarding traffic and a lot of other things. But what I would say is that the proposal you have before you, the language in that proposal incorporates those concerns and mitigates them in such a way that this project should move forward. And some of the details going forward will be vetted as it moves along, but I'm very confident and fully support the movement forward of this project.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming tonight.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Steve Fox. I chair the South End Forum, which is the umbrella organization representing all the neighborhood associations of the South End on matters of common interest. I also served on the IAG for this project. And I, as the final speaker, I think, in support of this project, I just want to emphasize two important things. One is that the process that was used in vetting this project, including creating a whole new community benefits analysis process and a community outreach process, was groundbreaking. And we will see that in its development over time. The developer and the way that we have gone through this process to try to say we need to have better outreach in terms of assessing community benefits for this size of a project with this kind of an impact on the South End needs to have a more robust participation on the part of the community. That is a model that we think we have created through this project, and we're really delighted to have that. The second piece of this is the community engagement process that Bill talked about. We called it the Magical Mystery Tour when Abbey Group went to every single neighborhood group, from South End seniors to youth groups to every neighborhood association, to talk about the vision for this project, and that created a sense of ownership within the South End for the project. We think that that was a model of how to approach these kinds of projects as well. My final point is clear in all of our documentation, which is transportation. We are genuinely concerned about some of the issues associated with transportation, not just for this project, but for all South End projects. And I think our documentation makes that clear. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this proposal? Hearing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition, just step right up. Okay, hearing none, are there any questions from the board?
I just want to make one personal comment. On May 31st, 1991, I got up at 4 in the morning with my husband, Charlie Rose, and we went to the flower exchange and bought flowers for our wedding. And I think my younger self would be astonished to know that my older self is sitting here looking at the transformation of this property. I think cities are dynamic and we have to embrace change, and this change is really positive for the South End. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I used to live not far from here. I think it's a terrific project. I think it's very interesting that it'll become what I guess is the tallest building in the South End at this point. And it's in a place where ordinarily folks don't think about walling off sections, but it's one of those areas where creating a wall between the vibrant community that exists in the South End and the expressway is something I suspect everyone would be highly supportive of. I've got a couple of questions. Could you elaborate a little bit on the current status of some of the transportation planning questioning that has come up, and in particular, if appropriate, because I know there's some negotiations ongoing, what might happen with the Silver Line as a part of the mass transit that seems to be closest to this site? And also there was some discussion of either an on-ramp or an off-ramp to the expressway itself to try to mitigate some of the traffic running through the area.
So let me take a stab at that, and the proponent can add if they'd like. Taking the second one first, the Harrison-Albany Corridor Strategic Plan, as you know, introduced the concept of that new connection and new on-ramp onto I-93 South via Frontage Road, and that was a key element of the transportation thinking in that plan, and it's something that this project can enable and unlock, as a matter of fact. So the proponent came to us and said, well, rather than running it through the middle of the site, we'd like to propose running it along the boundary of our property with Boston University, specifically the Infectious Disease Lab. We were convinced that that would work equally well and also provide a better outcome on the site. Negotiations and discussions have been ongoing between us, Boston Transportation Department, BU, Boston Medical Center, MassDOT, and the Federal Highway Administration. And my understanding is that there are issues to be resolved. We expect those to continue over the next few months, and we're optimistic that we'll achieve the desired outcome. That would be an important contribution feature, really, of this project, essential to making the circulation work for the later phases of the project, but also for relieving some of the congestion in the south end generally, especially at the PM peak time, allowing some of the traffic, instead of going all the way down Albany Street to Mass Ave or taking another route, to simply easily access I-93 South that way. So no definitive resolution yet, but productive conversations and ongoing. I can't comment specifically on the Silver Line or any other bus route, but what we have done is said that the proponent needs to continue to work with us to engage MassDOT and the MBTA to look for transit solutions. So in terms of the city infrastructure, we are working with the Abbey Group to help finance and reconstruct Albany Street. That would introduce dedicated bus lanes. And there are lots of ways that the MBTA is confident that they could put those to good use to improve transit service. And in terms of looking at the specifics of what that transit service might involve in a new Silver Line branch, we'll continue to work with them and MassDOT.
Okay, and then my last question is around water management on this site. You're kind of at the upper end of the Fort Point Channel at one end, and there's a stream that runs through or adjacent to the property. You've got a lot of new building that's going to be going on, and I wonder if there are any special provisions that have been made to address resilience, and whether von Valkenburg and his landscape team have done anything that would make this site more resilient.
Do you want to take this, Larry?
There are a number of things. The water, well, the geology of the underlying area is interesting, and it's one that we know a lot about. And that's one of the reasons that brought us to doing 3 levels of underground parking, because when you go down about 30 feet, you hit marine glacial clay. And so the buildings will basically be founded on clay, on a mat slab. The water that's running through is essentially running through this culvert, and it's a culvert that's big enough to put a boat in. I mean, it's a 12 feet by 30 feet wide culvert. So we're not going to necessarily be building in the water. It's been relegated to that culvert. But one of the things that we are doing is, because we have all this green space where we don't have garages, so we're going to gather all the roof water, and we're going to then detain it, retain it, let it infiltrate back into the ground, and we have a lot of area to do that, which is unique in the city. So that's one of the strategies that we're using for essentially not taxing the sewer system. And we're even studying, we haven't determined yet whether or not we're going to be able to then use that water to do irrigation for some of our plants. The other thing that we learned through the BPDA process is we became a guinea pig. There's a new initiative to look at a microgrid study, and because we're over 1.5 million square feet, we fell into that. And so we actually had a meeting today with a number of people from BPDA, and we've engaged that study, and we've acknowledged a number of strategies that work in terms of sustainability. And one of them is to use what's called a combined heat and power generator, where we were able to shave off some of the electrical load by using natural gas. And we found that there was a payback, so we're studying that. We also looked at solar. We don't have enough area, we think, to make that effective. In terms of other sustainability, all of our electrical gear is up over the 500-year flood, so we're raising all of our critical equipment. So there's a number of things, and we're using a very energy efficient building skin. We've done a lot of analysis on that. It's shading, shade screens, and a whole number of things that we've looked at.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I would prefer that you set aside the term guinea pig and think of yourself more as a collaborative innovator.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, if there's no further questions, a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, good.
That's okay. It's all positive, from the mayor's office to Brian, Teresa, Gerald, and the staff. To have a development of this size, I think people underestimate the 1.6 million square feet when you put it in context with other buildings. The Federal Reserve is 1 million square feet. Prudential Center is 1.2 million square feet. Hancock's 1.7. International Place is 1 million square feet. And we're talking 1.6, and there's not one person opposed to it. So commend everybody involved with the 14 meetings you had. You've done a tremendous job. And what also is missed, too, a lot of times, it's jobs, but people don't, 7,000 jobs, it's a lot of jobs. And just rough numbers, and you don't have to go by my numbers on wages. But about $420 million worth of wages at this site every year. $420 million worth of money people are going to make here. And the state tax piece, $21 million going back to the state. $20 million in construction payroll taxes going back to the state. And these jobs just really, really help our city, of course. What Worcester would do for this is amazing, but it really speaks to the leadership in this city. We all understand the food chain. Well, there's an economic engine chain as well, and you just got to feed it all the time, balance it. And this project is perfect for the youth of our city, the people that are moving in and around this development, and hats off to you. I tell you, tremendous project, I think.
Okay, if there are no further questions, then a motion is in order. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Congratulations. Good luck. Thank you.
I did.
This will be our last public hearing. Item number 30. This is a public hearing before the Boston Redevelopment Authority, doing business as the Boston Planning and Development Agency, being held in conformance with Article 80 of the Boston Zoning Code regarding the 6th Street Amendment for Plan Development Area Number 87 and a First Amendment to the Plan Development for the residential project at 125 Guest Street within Plan Development Area Number 87, Boston Landing, Guest Street, Life Street, and Arthur Street in the Brighton area of Boston. This hearing was duly advertised on August 2nd, 2018 in the Boston Herald. In a Boston Planning and Development Agency on a proposed petition by the agency, staff members will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the agency. Thereafter, others who wish to speak in favor of the proposed petition are afforded an opportunity to do so under the same rules of questioning. Following that, those who wish to speak in opposition may do so again under the same rules of questioning. Finally, the proponents are allowed for a brief period of rebuttal if they so desire. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. BPDA staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain. At that time, please conclude your remarks so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. Casey?
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Director Golden, and Madam Secretary. As you know, the Boston Landing project was originally approved by this board back in 2012 and is comprised of multiple exciting development projects along Guest Street in Brighton. Since its approval, this project has been back before the board multiple times to request minor amendments as the project has evolved and commenced construction. Once again, we are before you this evening to discuss 2 minor amendments for your consideration. On June 29, 2018, the proponent submitted the 6th Amendment to the Master Plan and the 1st Amendment to the Development Plan for 125 Guest Street, which is the residential project known as Lantera. The Sixth and First Amendment request to add uses which were not previously included in the prior approvals. The new uses are cultural use, banking use, barbershop, beauty shop, spa use, and takeout restaurant use. BPDA staff hosted both an impact advisory group meeting and a public meeting to discuss the additional uses where the amendments received full support in the community. The comment period concluded on August 13th, 2018. Additionally, as you will see in your memo, staff is also requesting a certificate of completion for the residential project and permission to execute an amended and restated affordable rental housing agreement and restriction to reflect minor changes to the IDP unit numbering. With that, Jay Rourke is here from the development team, should you have any questions.
Okay, let me get into the public hearing part of it, and we'll come back for questioning. That concludes your presentation, right? Okay. So is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this proposal? Anyone that would like to speak in favor?
Hello, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Raheem Shepard. I'm here representing the Union Carpenters, and we are in support of this project.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Madam Secretary, Director Golden, once again, Gary Walker, Electricians Local 103. I'd like to speak in strong support. The jobs that that has been created by New Balance has been overwhelming, and we thank them very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this proposal? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Okay, hearing none, are there any questions from the board? There are no questions from the board, then a motion is in order.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. The final item is number 33, the director's update.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and through you to the members. I have some good news that I'd like to share with you tonight and extend congratulations to two BPDA employees who have been awarded the Shattuck Award this year. The ceremony will occur in the fall. We're certainly happy, we're certainly proud that we have two recipients. First, thanks to the Boston Municipal Research Bureau and the Shattuck Award Selection Committee for zeroing in on the really fine work and profound contributions made by these two employees. First, Alan Gentle. Alan is going to receive the Shattuck. He's a program manager at the Roxbury Center for Financial Empowerment. You don't see a lot of Alan up here because the Roxbury Center for Financial Empowerment is located at 7 Palmer Street in Roxbury. Alan has worked for the City of Boston for 18 years. He started out at D&D and joined us in 2001 over at the Center for Financial Empowerment. Alan is one of his primary functions oversees one of the busiest centers for the Boston Tax Help Coalition. It's in our facility in Roxbury. Alan and his staff help thousands of Bostonians process their income taxes every year. Talk about a significant value. First of all, that's a pricey undertaking if you were to pay for that service. But Alan and staff provide it freely and joyfully. I think one thing that always sticks out in my head every time I see Alan, I have never, ever seen him for 1 second without a smile on his face. And that tells you something because he does hard work. He supervises a team that works hard, that provides an extraordinary dividend for thousands of Bostonians every year for many years, especially during the tax seasons. Alan's working all day, every day. And when I say every day, I mean every day, Saturdays and Sundays, without additional compensation. He's there day, night, and weekends, and the people of Boston benefit tremendously from that. Alan's an immigrant from Honduras and a married father of 4. He's a leader in the Dudley Square community as well as his home neighborhood of Mattapan. He's really deserving of this award. His work takes place a few miles from City Hall, but it's essential to enabling Boston residents to take steps toward economic prosperity we're grateful for the work that he and his team does, and we certainly look forward to celebrating with him in the fall. So congratulations, Alan Gentle, on being chosen as a Shattuck Award winner this year. Second, Michael Canizzo, a senior architect and urban designer. He'll receive the Shattuck in the fall as well. Michael worked for 15 years at the Landmarks Commission between 1987 and 2002. There he protected the historical beauty, integrity, and character that makes Boston such a special place aesthetically. He helped to develop historic standards and trained historic district commissioners during his time at Landmarks. In 2002, Michael joined the BRA as a senior architect and urban designer, where he would become responsible for reviewing hundreds of neighborhood projects of every shape, size, and nature throughout the city. He applies criteria beyond historic district or designations. His portfolio includes everything now. Michael's grown tremendously in this position. He's a revered character within the building, within the agency, and in the outside world. He supervises a team of 3 urban designers. This core group effectively forms the central urban design clearinghouse for most zoning board of appeals matters, signage review applications throughout the city. He's one of the most knowledgeable and diplomatic members of the urban design staff. Michael's a person of really special character and quality. He is the consummate gentleman. He is kind and thoughtful and considerate with everybody within the agency and all those from the public, the development community, advocates who he interacts with externally. He can be very clear and direct with regard to expectations and even demands of the agency on people, but everybody walks away from an encounter with Michael Canizzo feeling good about that, feeling validated, feeling they'd been treated with dignity and respect, both as people and with regard to their projects. So we're really thrilled to have Michael as part of the team, and we look forward to celebrating this award with him and his wife in the fall. So congratulations to Michael Canizzo on the Shattuck. This is an interesting number I want to share with you. We're now at month 8. 20% of all residential units that you've approved this year are deed restricted affordable. And that's a big number. As you know, our IDP requirement is 13%. So every market rate development project must include 13% minimum affordable units, either on-site. They might have to require even more if they create them off-site or through cash contributions. But of the units that you have approved, actual units, 20% are affordable. That's 769 out of 3,760 that you've approved this year. What's really interesting about that, not only are we exceeding this baseline threshold that our inclusionary development program requires of us, but we have exceeded the total number of affordable units permitted at month 8 in 2018. We've exceeded the number for all of 2017. 2017, we had 756 units affordable approved over 12 months. We hit 769 within 8 months. So it's really a tremendous number. It speaks to the success we've had working with communities and working with the development community to get those numbers up above the bare minimum. So it's a number we can be happy about and take pride in. And I thank staff throughout the organization for helping us move in this direction with regard to creation of affordable units. Tonight, you approved the downtown planning study. We're going to commence that. NBBJ was selected as the consultant to lead the downtown planning effort. Just to put this in context, that flowed, the commitment to do a downtown planning study flowed as part of our Article 80 approval process for the Winthrop Square Tower. I think it's an important measure. There hasn't been a downtown planning study in a long, long time. And we are going to look at new planning for the city, involve communities in and around the downtown in that conversation. It's going to be a holistic, comprehensive, interdisciplinary, interagency effort, and we think it will pay big dividends for the core downtown for many decades to come. But it's in addition to, I always talk about the building boom. It's the biggest building boom in the history of the city is what we're experiencing right now. We're also experiencing, one of the biggest planning booms in our history. Not only are we doing the downtown effort, which you approved tonight, we've got an East Boston planning study underway. We've got an Alston-Brighton mobility planning study underway, about to get underway in a few weeks. We'll be kicking off a MATA planning study, and we have a new market planning study underway. That's in addition to a whole variety of neighborhood planning efforts we've been doing for the past 5 years. So once again, Mayor Walsh's commitment to make sure that this agency is not only a development agency, but that the development goes hand in hand with good, solid, comprehensive planning and granular, detailed neighborhood planning. We continue to do that work. We're doing more of it than ever before. I want to thank and commend Sarah Meyerson and her team in planning that is doing this heavy lifting both downtown and throughout our neighborhoods. A couple years ago, our research department helped generate a pilot proposal for late-night bus service. This document was finalized in the middle of last summer, and this proposal was used in conjunction with city agencies, advocacy groups, and lots of stakeholders who are interested in making sure that there is meaningful late-night bus service to help Bostonians who either don't have access to an automobile, don't have access to reasonably priced parking, to move around the city and help drive the economy late at night. 60,000 people move to or from work in the city of Boston between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m., and that's a time when there's very little mass transit moving people around. But this pilot study helped get focus on the problem, and it matured a proposal for the MBTA's late night and early morning bus service. The early morning bus service pilot began in April 2019, and the late night bus service will begin this September. So again, I just want to salute the work of our research division, which helped make the case for this service that provides a really meaningful necessity to many Bostonians who need late night and early morning bus service. In multiple neighborhoods throughout the city of Boston, 30% of the population has no access to cars. So we spend a lot of time here talking about how many cars there are in the city, how much traffic there is, and how much of a problem that is throughout the downtown and the neighborhoods. And so it's easy to lose sight of the fact that there are people who don't have access to any cars at all, and if they're working late nights and early mornings, they're in big trouble without this service. So we're happy to have played a role in increasing the opportunities for mass transit at these less conventional hours. And finally, we've benefited tremendously every year from an intern presence. We had 36 interns working here this summer. They're all winding up their experience, and most are moving back to college, undergraduate programs or graduate programs. I want to say thank you to them for the tremendous work they've provided to us. And I speak to the interns every year and give an overview of the history of the BRA and now the BPDA. I take them through the 60 years, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how important the work here we've done is and continues to be. A new and improved and a reformed organization, learning from some of the trouble of the past. But most interns here are sort of mission-driven. In summer jobs, often you take what's available. You take a summer job because you need a summer job. But most here are mission-driven. They're involved in urban planning. They're involved in urban policy. They're involved in government, and they're interested in making their livings there. And many of these interns, frankly, I think it's probably a strangely large number, come from those intern programs to work here. And the agency to this day is full of permanent, full-time professional staff who started here with a summer job. And our own John Greeley, the Director of Development Review, a proud alumnus of an internship at the agency. Heather Camposano is now the Chief of Staff of the agency, a summer intern during her college years. We've got Joe Rose Bordeaux in legal, Jing Chen in research, Philip Hu in planning, Kevin Lau in human resources, Devin Wedge in budget and finance, and Abhishek Shukla in MIS. Those are people who started here as interns, so we're really glad they spend time with us because we get value out of their work in the summer, but maybe just as importantly, a lot of them come back and play a role in the life of this agency and provide really profound service to the people of Boston for many years to come. So just a final salute to the interns as they head out of the agency for the summer. So thanks very much. Have a great night.
Okay, thank you for the presentation and update, Brian. Are there any questions for Brian? No questions. Okay, well, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned.